Give us DJ Watt.
What is up, Steeler fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Steelers Preview. I'm Jeff Hartman, joined by Bryan Davis and Dave Schofield as we get you ready for the bye week. Yes, it's just the name of the show, but we are always here. Bryan, welcome to the show. How's it going?
I'm here, and I know they need the bye week. I'm always sad because a Sunday or a weekend without the Steelers just disheartens me. I'm glad when the bye week is over, so I can't wait for this to be gone. And whatever happens, come what may. The only time that I'll take a bye week is if they're the number one seed in the AFC.
All right, Dave Schofield, what's up?
Jeff Hartman, you are one wise man. You are so wise when you say these things. When we're sitting there at the beginning of July or the end of June, and you're like, don't wish away your summer. It's going to be gone before you know. Because I remember during that time scheduling where I had to get a crown. They didn't like the way it was fitting. I had to get it replaced. And they say, can you do October 1st? I'm like, that's the bye week. I'm good. I'm like, but that's forever from now. I'm not going to worry about it. And when I'm sitting in the chair yesterday, as they're waiting for half of my face to go numb, I'm like, holy cow, where has it gone? I can't believe we're a quarter of the way done the season. It seems like we were just waiting for training camp to start. So every week we've got to enjoy these games, even though sometimes they feel like they take years off of our life. We still need to enjoy them because there's just not that many.
No, and we talk about this in training camp. Once camp starts, like, okay, what's the next thing? When's the first padded practice? When is Friday Night Lights? When's the first preseason game? And then when's the first race? Sometimes you just have to slow it down and just enjoy it. Like I'm looking forward to this weekend. I'm looking forward to not having a Steelers game to cover. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm looking forward. I might go golfing. I might watch a bunch of football. I might do nothing. I don't know, but I'm looking forward to that. I'll ask you, Bryan, what are you going to do this weekend? Bryan?
I don't think he knows. well, it doesn't help that he's muted.
Oh, there you go.
No, sorry, I was on the other screen getting some information for what I was going to do later on in the show. Now, you know what? This weekend, I think I'm going to go ahead and quote Old School from 2003, and I'm going to go ahead and do a little Will Ferrell here, and here we go. Well, actually a pretty nice little Sunday planned. We're going to Home Depot, buy some wallpaper, maybe get some flooring, stuff like that. Maybe Bed Bath & Beyond. I don't know. I don't know if we'll have enough time.
Old Frank Ricard, Frank the Tank. And unfortunately, Bed Bath & Beyond doesn't even exist anymore. So
actually, they're coming back.
They are coming back. They are coming back. But
just not in California.
Our Bed Bath & Beyond now is my gym where I go to work out. So that's pretty funny. Dave, what do you have on tap this weekend?
This weekend, for the whole weekend, my men's group that I sing with, we're singing some Saturday morning. I'll make some apple cider Saturday afternoon with my cider press. Sunday, I'll actually I won't have to leave church early. And then I'll probably have to work and get caught up on all my numbers for FFSN on Sunday because it's a new month. I got to close stuff out and get ready to move forward.
That's right. So, I mean, for me, like I said, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. Sometimes the wife wants to go out and do some stuff in the Beehive. Now, thank God I don't live near that place. We'll just put it that way. No, sometimes I think we might be going to my father-in-law's for breakfast or something, and then sometimes we go hiking. I do whatever my wife wants to do on those days, and I'll follow along on my phone and with my FanDuel League. But let's talk about the title of this show, and that is that the Steelers did their job to start the season, but can they finish the job? Now, this is the key part here. I was talking with my kids the other day, and they're still grasping football and everything that encompasses an NFL season. And they're like, oh, wow, the Steelers are 3-1. What's the Ravens record? And I said, well, they're 1-3. They're like, oh, that's so great. I said, but it's a long season. We've seen this before. Like last year, the Steelers were 6-2, and then the doors completely fall off. Weren't they 10-4 at one point? It wasn't. What was the best they had? It wasn't 8-2. What were they? 6-2, and then
the
got
Steelers.
The Steelers.
Well, let's see. They finished 10-7. they lost their last, was it 5 regular season games?
Yeah.
4 regular season and
Fifth
then
was the
5th in the
playoffs.
playoffs.
So was the 5th the playoffs or the 6th? What am I doing? I have it here on my screen. Why am I even waiting? I just got to find the right tab. Yeah. So they were at one point they were 10-3.
Wow.
So
And
they
then
were
you're right. They
10-3.
lost the last 4
Yeah.
regular season, and then
So I had to explain to my children how it's a long season. And so the question that I have for you guys, and I want to start the show off with, is that they've gotten off to a good start. I think if you went back and looked at our predictions when the schedule came out, I think almost everyone either had them at 3-1. I don't know if I had them 4-0 because I think
I have it right here, Jeff.
I'm pretty sure, Dave, that I had them losing to Minnesota in Dublin because I didn't like the way they traveled.
I actually did pick them to win that game in week 4 because I had them not winning in week 3. I had their loss. I had them 3-1, but I had them losing in New England.
Okay,
on
but
a
while
letdown game.
you look it up, the point is they've done their job. They're 3-1 going into the bye week, but the question is, can they finish the job and be a team that's kind of continually on the rise and not someone that's going to fall off a cliff like we saw last year? Dave, what do you have there?
We all had them 3-1, but none of us had the right ones. I had them losing to New England. You guys both had them losing to Minnesota.
Okay, very good. So, Bryan, is there anything about this team that makes you think that this is going to be different, that this team actually can finish the job and not just have a hot start?
The veterans. Absolutely. I think Aaron Rodgers, Jalen Ramsey, I think not only those 2 newcomers, but Cam Hayward and TJ Watt, you add those guys into these veterans and you have a great veteran presence. I want to go back to Hard Knocks last year, and something that I noticed that stuck with me, and we talked about it then, how annoyed Cam Hayward looked with Russell Wilson with his fake enthusiasm or whatever it was at the end. And I kind of felt like that's the kind of stuff that doomed this team. There's no fake enthusiasm with Aaron Rodgers. He's going to tell you if you're screwing up. Jalen Ramsey is not going to be fake. He's just going to go for it. And then you've got a guy like DK Metcalf that is different than George Pickens. Sure, he will punch you out on the field. He will get that 15-yard penalty, but he will stick up for his team and it won't be about him. When George Pickens does it, it was about him and or doing something stupid. DK Metcalf epitomizes the team concept as far as I'm concerned here. I think Aaron Rodgers does too. In the locker room, they love him more than the fans do, and the fans are coming around on him. I don't think that they're going to go into that slide like they were last year because there's not going to be discontent. There was a split locker room. Some people still wanted Justin Fields last year towards the end. And there was a lot going on there that we don't know about. So I'm thinking this year that just the veteran leadership is going to go ahead and steer that ship. And the only thing that worries me is that the national media starting to come around on the Steelers just a little bit.
Dave, what do you think? Is there anything different about this team that gives you hope?
Well, I do want to say one thing from something you brought up before. You said about the Ravens being 1-3, Steelers being 3-1. If you listened to the Pittsburgh Standard Time this morning, I did lay out. I'm like, it would be really nice to see the Ravens drop these next couple games, but it also wouldn't shock me based on their schedule. Their schedule isn't all that bad after they have their bye week. They could, if they win these next 2 games, they could win every game until they play the Steelers. They really could.
Easily.
When you look at it. So that's what's that?
I want to jump in on that too, though, because the Ravens have a maturity problem, though.
Yeah.
So
I'm not saying they will. I'm just saying if they get on a roll, they could definitely do that.
But if they lose these next 2,
they're in trouble.
then they will go in the tank because that's just where their heads go.
Yeah. So now back to so I got to make sure I got the question right. It was the Steelers' confidence going forward, right?
Well, your confidence. What is different, if anything, about this team?
I think what's different about this team is the things that you see them that you want to complain about them not doing. I don't know that it's that they can't or is it they don't have to. Like there are people making a really big deal about the Pittsburgh Steelers can't throw the ball down the field. All their passes are short. It's all yak, blah, blah, blah. My question is this. If they can't throw the ball down the field right now, it's because they don't have time to throw the ball down the field right now. And that's something that I feel is on the rise for the Steelers. Their offensive line needs to keep getting better and better and better every week to maybe they can get to that point. But have the Steelers really had to throw the ball down the field so far?
No.
So is it that they can't, or is it why do that if you don't have to? So I don't know that they can't. They just haven't. So that's what I'm kind of looking at with stuff with this Steelers tape. How much is it that they're not good at this, or they haven't really had to do those kind of things? Obviously, I feel they're getting better the last two games, stopping traditional running plays. I feel, I'll be honest with you, after listening to Coach KT Smith with Bryan on the Steelers Hangover, I feel like, I was really mad that the Steelers took their foot off the gas too early. Was it really that they took it off too early, or was it that's when Jalen Ramsey came out of the game and they had to play their defense differently? So even some of the things that I'm frustrated with, I'm like, I'm not saying that these are things that the Steelers do poorly. I'm just saying they haven't had to really prove themselves in some regards. Do the Steelers have the ability to, if they had the ball down 3 with a minute left in the game, can they tie it up or take the lead? They haven't. We don't know that because they haven't had to do it yet. So, it wasn't. They took the lead against New England, but that was with significantly more time left in the game. So we only have 4 games is my point. We only have so much to go by. And obviously this team isn't showing us everything they can do, and they have not been tested in every way so far. So there's still a lot of football to be played. And I'm looking forward to see how they respond to different adversities as they face different opponents.
The one thing that comes to mind for me, and I agree with what both of you guys said, is how this team already this season has shown a willingness to do some things different that we haven't seen in a very long time. And let me explain. And it's going to be what we've seen so far is great, but can they continue to evolve as the season progresses and continue to change and adapt as necessary? And so I'll give you a perfect example. I just watched I was cleaning up dishes and I was listening to my Steelers app, and they were Arthur Smith's media availability this week. I listened to what he had to say, and they talked about the jumbo package they used predominantly against Minnesota, where you had Spencer Anderson and Darnell Washington on either side of the line of scrimmage. And Arthur Smith goes, "You're talking about close to 1,000 pounds." I don't know how he said, I don't know how much I don't know how much Darnell Washington weighs right now, but that's close to 1,000 pounds on one side of your line, including the tackle. And I was like, this is something that they did that people weren't expecting. Even the great Brian Flores was not expecting this, and yet they did it with success. Can they continue to find ways to attack that people aren't prepared for, and whether that is a wrinkle off of the jumbo package? And so, okay, that's an example on the offensive side. I've been very happy with that. On defense, the question, they've been blitzing more. The defensive line, when Derek Hartman came back in, is occupying the line of scrimmage greater so that Peyton Wilson and Patrick Queen can make impact plays in the backfield and in a bunch of different variety of ways. I like what we're seeing. And the fact that we have not seen, outside of a few snaps in week 1, Joey Porter Jr., Darius Slay, and Jalen Ramsey healthy on the field together tells me that maybe there's some more stuff in their back pocket that they haven't shown yet. So I'm very encouraged by that facet of this team, that I've seen some coaching change, because we've seen enough roster change. My gosh, can the coaching change continue? Now, again, what have we seen, whether it was Randy Fichtner, whether it was Matt Canada, whether it was even last year with Arthur Smith, sometimes they forget, they stop. The change stalls. Well, we did this, it worked, let's do it again. And then the defense adjusts, and then we don't ever see a counterpunch. We don't ever see an added wrinkle. That's what I'm looking forward to seeing. But I'm very encouraged by that right out of the gate. Bryan, did you want to say something? I saw your hand up.
Oh, no, actually, it was just in the air, but I'm going to agree with you on this, and I'll throw in not only that jumbo package that you were talking about, if you're including the experimenting with their variation of the tush push to even having a wildcat. And I think that was week 3 where they
Yep.
did some wildcat stuff. So they are not afraid to mix stuff up and slowly each week take stuff out of the bag. But I like what you said, though. You need to continue doing that. I also hope that they establish, instead of, we all hate the word cute, but we want to see a team find something that they're good at and say, I dare you to stop it. You know what's coming.
Yeah. Dave, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, it's how many times we said, man, this offense should just take what they give them. And then when they take what they give them, you get upset that they're not doing other things. You know, some people that are really trying to break it down. I mean, because seriously, yeah, the numbers. Jeff did a bunch of the numbers on Let's Ride. I went over some of them also on Pittsburgh Standard Time. They don't look good. They really aren't. But they are trending more in the better direction, honestly. Yeah. So the fact that the Steelers have won games with numbers that aren't great, but you know what? It's not about having the best numbers. It's about winning football games. So the question is, are they not going to win games because their numbers are bad, or will their numbers get better when they need them to win football games? That's why we're going to have to tune in. But you say that about, you know, adding the wrinkles. Offensively, you can't add more wrinkles if you're not doing your regular stuff well. Because then you have to work on improving your regular stuff. That's what they really need. You've got to keep up doing well the stuff that you're going to. I mean, I'm sorry, a lot of your traditional run plays and some of your traditional pass patterns, with things like that. You need to do those well, because you're not going to run a brand new play that the team has never seen every play of a game. So the less you have to work on the stuff that you're doing and need to keep doing well, the more you can throw in more wrinkles. That's just a byproduct of how it goes. Is with, you know, you can't put it. It's harder to put in a new package as a coach. Even ask Coach KT Smith this. Even with high school, if you aren't doing what you're already doing very well, you've just got to go back to try to improve that. Defensively, man, I keep thinking of all these things because of all these injuries and then other players playing well. It's like, how are the Steelers going to figure out how to play? Name a position group and the number of players there and get them all playing time. I mean, right now, there's not a problem with defensive line. They were kind of lacking. Derek Hartman came back. Then it seemed like it was better. People were saying, outside linebacker, what are you going to do when Alex Highsmith comes back? You're going to want to take Nick Herbig off the field? How are you going to work all that? That's a good problem to have. Inside linebacker, no one's gone away. Yeah, Cole Holcomb only got 10 snaps last week, but my goodness, he had the highest PFF grade on defense. He did well in the limited stuff that they had him out there doing. Then you look at the secondary. My goodness, Joey Porter Jr. has played, what, half a game?
Yep.
So far this season? Yeah. You're talking about bringing him back? Oh, Brandon Echols has played well. Is he just going to go to the bench and not play? Having too many guys that can get the job done is the problem that Coach Tomlin has been wanting to have for a very long time. I mean, my goodness, Deshaun Elliott comes back and people are saying, where's Jabril Peppers? Where's Jabril Peppers? My opinion, I could be way off here, but my opinion behind that one is they didn't know if they were going to have Elliott, so they had both of those guys planning to play in the same role. Therefore, if there was no Elliott, Pepper slides right in. Now, if you know that you're going to have both of them, you can start incorporating them, both of them, in a different way, because you should be able to have both of them. So now you're like, oh, wow, you've got too many safeties? Oh, what a terrible problem. You know, that's what I think defensively can really come about when they start to get more guys back and then have the problem of, hey, other guys were playing well. How are we going to do this?
And I wrote an article for SteelCurtainNetwork.com today that was about players that could be coming back to the lineup after the bye week. And some of those included players on IR that are now eligible to return. You have your Will Howard, could be QB3, which they still only have 52 players, right, Dave? They never did fill that spot from Max Sharping going on IR. You have Corey Trice, who's going to be able to return. Dante Kent, I think he's kind of like on the fringe of, we only need him if we need him. Let's keep him in the organization and you think about next year. But when Calvin Austin as a punt returner is out, he does have punt return capabilities. These are good problems to have, which is what Dave is bringing up. But before we go to this super chat from Claude Bishop that I want to get to, Bryan, let me ask you this. After the first 4 games of the season, heading into the bye week, has anything that you've seen so far changed what you view as the overarching projection ceiling floor for this Steelers team?
Absolutely, it's changed because now I'm looking at the next 4 games, and I expect that to be 3-1 as well, and 6-2 at the quasi midpoint. You know, wherever you want to put the midpoint after 8 games or after 9 games, it doesn't matter. But for me, 6-2, that would be phenomenal. Ohio, I'm thinking they could beat Ohio. I definitely think they can beat Green Bay, and I definitely think they could beat who's the other team in that mix that I just forgot?
Colts is the
Colts.
next one.
They could beat all 4 of those. They could lose to half of those guys too. You know, so it's but I think 2-2 would be the worst case scenario in my head because I expect them to do so much more. But all the depth that Dave just talked about, and when you have a guy like Eccles and Jabril Peppers who might have lessened roles in Holcomb, but you have a way to get more creative as you go too. And I know that's what Dave was talking about. That makes me excited about this team. And I go back to what Jeff was talking about with the wrinkles that Arthur Smith is throwing in there. I think this is a heightened philosophy for this team. So I'm thinking big. For the second quarter, I'm thinking big. I think they should be in the mix going into the midway point of the season.
All right, Dave, what about you?
Yeah, I'm going to give a Dave answer. It's both yes and no. And here's why. Here's the no. Here's the no. Because I was just going to say no. And then I'm like, you can't leave it at that. And here's why. My expectation for the Steelers coming into the season was I wanted to wake up every game day and feel that this team could win the game. I still feel the same way. I feel that this offense is only going to go as far as what the offensive line can take them. And I still feel the same way. That's why nothing has changed in that regard. But but there's so many other things like the defense. That's the thing that I'm like, we didn't like what we saw early for sure with the defense. But I think the Steelers need to continue to, if they can start utilizing all those other pieces, there should never be an excuse of, well, our hands were tied due to the attrition. If your attrition came early, that means you in the season, unless it continues, you should be able to really do about anything whenever that attrition is gone. So that's the way that it has changed for me otherwise. But I think the offensive line is still a concern. Not that they can't get the job done, but we know at any moment they could just kind of have one of those games. And we thought that might be what they were going to have in Ireland after one play, after one drive. It was like, oh, great, here we go. But then it turned around. So they've got to continue to grow. I still think that the Steelers, Bryan was talking about those games. I'm like, yeah, they could beat any of those teams. Ultimately, the question is, will they?
Yeah. I mean, for me, if someone said, Jeff, what's your take on the Steelers? I would say 2 words, guarded optimism. That's what I have. I have very guarded optimism. I've been burned. We've all been burned way too many times with, here we go. Like, we've got this thing and we're figuring it out, and then it all falls apart. So I've just taken it 1 week at a time. Guarded optimism. I do think this team can still be really good. I stand by my ceiling and floor I said when we did predictions. I said the floor, the worst they are is 9-8. The ceiling could be 12 or 13 wins. And that's if the ball bounces your way, you get all the breaks, all that stuff. So I stand by that. So I'll tell you what, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back after the break, we do have to get this super chat done with Claude Bishop. We're going to talk AFC North predictions. We'll do some trivia. We have some bad memories, and then we'll get out of here. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, Steeler fans, thank you all for being patient, and we didn't go anywhere if you're watching live on any platform. Let's get this super chat here. Claude Bishop gives us $2 and said, would you guys trade Pat Freiermuth for a true number 2 wide receiver? This is interesting because it depends on your value of Pat Freiermuth. Pat Freiermuth, who had 0 targets, didn't even register a statistic outside of a missed block on a blocked field goal last week. He has 65 total yards on the season. Just really pedestrian numbers. I think 7 receptions. I don't know. Bryan, what would you think?
I wouldn't shout about it, and if I like that true number 2 receiver, I would say at this point, yeah, I'm I would be fine with that because I know that you are not. This is the strongest tight end group I've seen in a long time in Pittsburgh, as far as I'm concerned. It seems like they like what Darnell Washington is doing, and I think you have Jonnu Smith as well. So I'm not wishing him away. I'm still a big fan of number 88, but if you're bringing in a stud and can do different things for you, then you're not getting that much. You're getting 65 yards. Yeah, I guess I would do it.
Dave, what about you?
Well, let's go with the Dave answer. Man, it really depends on what your expectations are from a WR2. I mean,
all right, let me give you an example. Let me give you an example.
Because I was going to say, like, if you're talking about, let's bring in Mike Williams like last year.
No.
Granted, that was enough to win one game.
True.
And I said if he doesn't do anything else, at least he won him that one game, and that's pretty much all he did. But yeah.
So let's say the Steelers go to the New Orleans Saints.
Okay.
New Orleans Saints suck this year, and they're probably going to suck for a couple years because they are in rebuild mode with Kellen Moore at the helm. And everyone knows this. And Steelers say, we will ship you Pat Freiermuth for Chris Olave, and we'll pick up his contract, 100% of the contract. Now, I know you got to look at the numbers, and I don't have them in front of me, but I think he still do a pretty decent amount, a pretty penny, we'll put it that way. So, and then we'll also throw in a day 3 draft pick in 2027. Would you make that deal, Dave?
My thing is, I don't know why they would want Freiermuth as part of that. If they're rebuilding, they would probably just want the draft picks.
Maybe.
So,
but let's say you have to
find.
The question is about Pat Freiermuth, so we got to package him in this somehow.
If the Steelers didn't, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I just don't think they would. I think they would not look to move any of their players right now. I think they're only looking to gain and not looking to subtract. Look at who the Steelers have traded away during the season in years past.
I can't think of anyone.
Chase Claypool.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about him.
What's his name? Who was the outside linebacker they traded? Melvin.
When they got Preston Smith, they didn't trade him away.
Ingram.
Ingram. Yeah.
I always want to say I always want to call him the name of a running back that used to play. Is my problem there. I was going to say Melvin Gordon. So yeah, they trade away players that they are okay if they don't have them anymore, because not as much as their play on the field as what they bring in the locker room. And I don't think that's the problem with Pat Freiermuth, so I don't think they're really interested in moving him.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
And
I wouldn't personally be opposed to it, but I just don't think that they would do it.
Yeah, and it's such a loaded room, and the Steelers like to do the heavy personnel. And here's the thing, and I said this on my Wednesday podcast when I was asked about Pat Freiermuth, he doesn't do anything exceptionally well. He's not a great blocker, so he's not Heath Miller who you can put in line and he's going to do his job. He doesn't have the best hands. He's not the fastest tight end. He's not an Antonio Gates who you never put in line but can run some great routes and is really quick and in and out of his breaks. He doesn't do anything exceptionally well. He's just kind of your run-of-the-mill tight end. I'm not against him. I think he's a good player. I just don't think he'll ever be a great player. And I think some people have heaped these expectations onto him because of Heath and probably because he's a Caucasian tight end, and probably because they like to yell Muth at the Muth, just like they yelled Heath. I don't know. Bryan, what's your take on Freiermuth as a player, I guess I should say?
I think right now, I think he's in the doghouse, not with the coaches, but with Aaron Rodgers. But I agree with you. I don't think that he has done anything amazing, and you would think, and you can throw in, well, they're not going to him, but there's a reason they're not going to him. So I guess he's not getting open. So, you might have that problem there, but if he's not a blocker, because remember, Jesse James became a good blocker. He was not a good blocker at first, but he became a good blocker. But in year, what is this, year 4? No, this year 5, right? Year 5 of Pat Freiermuth.
Yeah, because he signed that new deal before last season.
Yeah, he hasn't become that great of a blocker, and they feel that they're getting more out of Darnell Washington because they have to get more out of Darnell Washington as a blocker, and now they started going to him more as a passer 3 times in that game, the last game. So I don't know. It's kind of a conundrum. I love the guy's personality. I love what he brings to the locker room, like Dave said. I just don't. We're not really seeing the benefit on the field right now. If you ranked the top 20 most effective Steelers right now, you might have a hard time through 4 games putting Pat Freiermuth in that top 20.
And that says something. Dave, what do you want to say?
I'm going to say is that, yeah, he didn't have a target against Minnesota, only played a handful of snaps. That was the game plan. They were going with the jumbo package a lot. And I don't think the Steelers are going to want to trade away somebody who could be a key part to a game plan against a different opponent. If not next game, the one after, one of the next 2 games, Pat Freiermuth is going to have at least 5 targets.
Probably.
In one of the next 2 games.
Yeah.
Wouldn't shock me if it was Cincinnati because now, since especially if he doesn't do much against the Browns. Remember how Cincinnati forgot about him the I can't remember which game that was. That was the first non-Matt Canada game.
Yes.
Yeah, and Booth just went off. So I think having pieces that you can do other things with, they're not going to want to move that away. If there's a WR2 available out there that a team is willing to part with, chances are they don't care about getting a tight end back. So that's why I say, rather than say, oh, Pat Freiermuth and a late day 3 pick or something like that, nah, just trade him your other third and get the guy.
Well, I'll say this. Bryan brought up the doghouse, and I was like, is he really in the doghouse? And then I started thinking about it. And Aaron Rodgers, he's the same age as me. His birthday's just later in the year. And I can be very cynical at times. I can be very, I can hold a grudge, definitely, for sure. And don't think for a second that when Pat Freiermuth breaks off his route and doesn't sit down and Aaron Rodgers throws it behind him, you could see he's livid. And don't think for a second when Aaron Rodgers gets flushed out of the pocket against Seattle in week 2 and heaves up
sees the flag,
throws up a 50-plus yard dime right into the breadbasket of Pat Freiermuth and he drops it, I wouldn't be shocked. And, it's interesting because talking with Coach
There's another one.
I missed
it's not even Freiermuth's fault, but he tried to go to Freiermuth in the corner of the end zone, and another guy knocked it away and caused an interception. Not even Freiermuth's fault. It's almost like you get a little bit jaded about, every time I throw to this guy, something bad happens, whether it's his fault or not. Yeah.
But, I mean, you talk about it, and I'm just thinking, like, Aaron Rodgers might be thinking, goodness gracious, what are we doing with this guy? And I go back to something that Kevin Smith talked about at training camps. This was months ago, that it was always Rodgers with Freiermuth always trying to get on the same page. It seemed it just like for whatever reason, they weren't seeing things the same. And so that can be problematic, especially at a quarterback who seems like he needs to trust his receivers. We heard about it in past spots where Aaron Rodgers wants to know his receivers are going to be where they're supposed to be. And you need to be there on time. Yep. And if not, he's going to let you know it. And I'm fine with that, by the way. Go ahead, Bryan. What do you want to say?
I agree with everything you said. But there's also the one thing that keeps me from thinking that they might do it, and it's different than what Dave said. I agree with everything Dave said as well. But it's the fact that if Rodgers is a 1-year guy and you have Pat Freiermuth to a contract, you might think that you might not want to sacrifice 26 and 27 by getting rid of a Pat Freiermuth.
Yeah.
Anyone else watch Aaron Rodgers and think, I think this guy might be back next year?
Yeah, I do.
It's early.
It is. You're right.
He's only 4 games in. He's probably still feeling all right. When you get to game 16 or 17, you might be hurting by that time.
You're right. You're right.
But he's reborn. He feels like he's football reborn.
Looks like he's loving life. I mean, it just looks like he's been like he's out of the purgatory that is New York Jets football.
I was going to say, how many more games do the Steelers need to win in order to match what he won last year with the Jets?
1. I think he only won 4 games last year.
Something like that.
All right, so here we go. Steeler fan 69 gave us a $5 tip. Little humor. It says not Dave friendly. So Dave, earmuffs. We'll stick with the old school theme and earmuffs. It says, my sex life has been like Coca-Cola. First time was Cherry Coke, then it became Classic Coke, and now it's Coke Zero. That's a good one. That's a very good one. I like that joke. I like that. Oh, okay. So we don't have over under because there's no game to predict, and we're not doing this with like the AFC North. We are going to talk AFC North picks here shortly. We do want to recap our totals from over under though. So Dave, do you have those ready?
Yeah, well, it's funny. I keep opening up a lead in one category and falling farther behind in another because you're welcome. I picked the Vikings because, like I said, every time I pick the Steelers in week 4, they lose. So there you go. So therefore, you guys got both the over/under and the game pick. I only got the over/under. So you guys are both up to 5, where I'm only at 3. But last week with the ones that we do with Jeff, one of them was thrown out because it was Jalen Warren, and then he didn't play, so we threw it out. So therefore, Jeff and Bryan, you each got 3 right. I got 4 right. So that means the totals are Jeff has 13, Bryan has 15, and I have 18.
All right. Hey, I will take the L every day of the week in these singular ones if I'm right in the Steelers winning more often than
that. And that's the thing. That's the first one where I had it wrong with them, where I picked against them and they won. But usually it's the over/under I'm not hitting right.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk real quick about the AFC North matchups coming up around the division. There's going to be some interesting games here. I think let's start off with the Dillon Gabriel game. This is going to be an early international series game. Minnesota stays there. They get to go from Ireland to London. The Browns make a change. No more Joe Flacco. They're going to Dillon Gabriel. What do you think about this one, Bryan? Who are you taking?
I still don't like the Browns, and I kind of wish that they waited to go for the Browns another week, so that go to Gabriel another week. But I don't like this Browns team, and I know the defense is tough, but you have a Minnesota team that, as far as I'm concerned, they're rested because they don't have to travel whatsoever. They are, well, you travel a little bit, but from Ireland to England, it's nothing. You know, that's not that much of a trip. You would have hoped they did some kind of sightseeing this week and then got their game plans and stuff in. They had a little bit of a vacation and they had a little bit of work in there too. This is a team that put up some really nice offensive numbers, and I'm sure that they're ticked off as well. And I don't like the idea of Cleveland having to travel, and when these guys are they're already there. So I'm going to go ahead and say Minnesota. I like this. I would go ahead and take Minnesota in the points.
Okay, which, by the way, Minnesota's giving 3.5 here. Dave, with the lowest total of the week at 36.5. That is the total over-under for the game. That is insane. Dave, what do you think about this one? Oh, the miming. He's miming. For those that are in the audio.
You just had to put that out there just for the fun of it. So when you don't want to say anything, you just do that. Honestly, the Browns defense is pretty good when they're at home. This might be a home game, but they're not at home.
Right.
So that they're kind of night and day. That was a thing that they had last year. Minnesota, that's the first time they lost an international game was to the Steelers.
Yes.
And they're probably feeling better about how they turned it around at the end. And they definitely are there and more adjusted than the Browns because they've been there the whole time. I think this is a key moment for Minnesota. If they're going to come out and pull the Packers, their season's in trouble. If they really want to say that they're going to be contenders in the NFC North, they've got to come out here and have a double-digit win against the Browns. I think they'll do it.
I think that the Vikings win this game. I think that the Vikings being there and being acclimated is a huge advantage. I think Cleveland's getting screwed here because not only do they not get a bye after this week, they have to travel to Pittsburgh in week 6. So they're going to have to come back from London. And then Dillon Gabriel in his second start, assuming he makes it through this one, is going to then travel to Pittsburgh for his
take
first
the bus because they don't fly. They take
exactly.
The bus.
That's brutal. And I know I was talking some smack about Brian Flores, and it wasn't against him. It was just the narrative surrounding it. Yeah. He's going to confuse the hell out of this rookie quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
So Take the under,
Come on.
possibly?
Yeah.
Take
It's a
the
big
under.
difference between having Aaron Rodgers
Yeah.
to be able to dissect it or a player that's in his very first NFL game.
Exactly. All right, let's go. So I'll take the Vikings here as well. Let's go to the next game, which I think has so much intrigue surrounding it. 2 1-3 teams are thinking this is a crap fest. No, it's not. Houston Texans, Baltimore Ravens at M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore. As of right now, Lamar Jackson did not practice in their most recent practice due to his hamstring injury. So his availability is up in the air. Some said 2 to 3 weeks he's out. Then they're saying he's going to try to play this week. The loser of this game is going to be really, really digging a deep hole for themselves in the division. Bryan, the Texans are actually giving 2.5 points to the Ravens at home as of right now. What do you think about this one?
I'm still going to go ahead, and this hinges on Lamar Jackson, whether he's playing or not. I want to go ahead and say that he's going to be out, and I'm going to give the advantage to the Texans because their defense is good, and I don't think Cooper Rush could move that team. That team is used to Lamar Jackson, and I don't think anybody else is going to go ahead and do anything with that team unless they have a full off season. So I'm going to say when you look at a team that won 26-0 last week, they're starting to get their offense back. The biggest problem with the Houston Texans is they have a terrible offensive line. And if you can go ahead and exploit an offensive line like that, that's great. But you don't have a good defense on the Baltimore end. You saw what other teams are doing to them. And so I have to go ahead. They can have those 2.5 points at M&T. I'm going to go ahead and take the Houston Texans.
Wow. Dave, what do you think?
Yeah, and then did I see that Kyle Hamilton didn't practice today either?
He was limited.
Or limited? So there's some questions with him. The Ravens defense has not been playing well. If you've been worried about the Steelers defense not playing well, you should look at the Ravens defense not playing well. Now they have played some pretty good offense too, you have to remember. My thing is, even without Lamar Jackson, even with the Ravens defense not playing very well, it seems like the Ravens, when push comes to shove, if they have to, they could, when they're forced to lean on Derrick Henry, it works out well for them. I mean, my goodness, they didn't lean on Derrick Henry the first time they played the Steelers last year. Steelers beat them. The next time, they're like, you know what? No matter what, we're going to keep giving it to them. We're going to keep running the ball. And you know what? It paid off pretty well. As much as I'm going to be cheering hard for the Texans, the cynic in me is like, the Baltimore's not going to be this bad for that long. I'd be more worried about Henry being out than I would Lamar Jackson being out, but Henry's not out. So to me, I think this is a game where they're not already trailing by a bunch of points when a quarterback comes in. They're just going to go Derrick Henry, and I think they managed to get the win because it's at home.
Dave, you took the words out of my mouth. I'd take the Ravens as home dogs here. They're plus 120 on the money line. I'd take the Ravens on the money line. Give them, you want to take the points, but I think this is a game the Ravens, they know they need to win it, and I think they do. All right, let's go to the last game. This is a 4:25 kickoff. The Lions go to Paycord of Cincinnati to play the Bengals. What about this spread? The Lions are spotting 10.5 with a total of 49.5. Bryan, what do you think about this game?
Did he say it's in Detroit, not in Paycor?
No, it's in Paycor. It's in
okay,
Cincinnati.
It's in Paycor. I don't think it matters. Go ahead, take Detroit, give those points away, 10.5, because I saw, I believe it was 28-3 the other day against the Broncos, and that Broncos defense is garbage compared to Detroit. So go ahead. It's going to be a blowout or no runaway.
Okay. Dave?
I think the biggest thing is that the Bengals defense is garbage more than anything. And therefore, and think about this, the Detroit's offense is way better than Denver's, in my opinion. So that's why I'm thinking, who cares? It's in Cincinnati. I think they win this one by 2 touchdowns, at least.
My bet is take the over of 49.5. I think that if it's gonna be close to the point where the Bengals are within that 10.5, they're gonna have to score a lot of points. And Jake Browning is the quarterback, in case you forgot. So I'll take
my fear with that over is that the Bengals can't get to double digits.
Maybe.
That's the issue. If the Bengals can get to double-digit points, I think they hit the over.
If they don't get to double digits, I think that they're making a trade for a quarterback by the following game. That's just a gut reaction or changing. I don't know who their third quarterback is, but okay. All right, let's go to Bryan. You want some bad memories?
Yes, I don't care if it's a bye week. I'm going to talk about my favorite bad memories when we go through bye weeks. So let's go back to the very first bye week in 1990. I had to work at a top 40 radio station.
Well, there goes my trivia.
Go
ahead.
There was actually 2 bye weeks in 1990. I hated it. But following that, I did whatever let's go ahead and look at 1995. I did whatever my girlfriend wanted me to do. In 1999, I did whatever my first wife wanted me to do. In 2005, I was single, so I did whatever I wanted to do, and I had a glorious time. And then 2015, I did whatever my wife and kids wanted to do. Basically, you're off football, and you have to go ahead and give it up and do whatever the people around you want to do. So that's what my bad memories of bye weeks always are. So I don't make any plans. I just say yes, dear.
Fair enough. All right, trivia time, Dave.
Well, this isn't my trivia, but I do have a question because this would have been a good one for Bryan. How many years ago was it where the Steelers went into their bye week third in the division and they left the week when they were first? They moved from third to first during their bye week. That was 3 or 4 years ago.
We were doing the show, I think.
Yeah.
Yes. That was recently.
So
Yeah.
I'm thinking it was like either 19 or 21.
Yeah. So yeah, something crazy around there. Just put it out there. No, my first question was going to be when did the NFL first institute bye weeks? But that was already answered because Bryan, you said it was
1990.
And what was the one season where they gave everybody 2 bye weeks?
I thought that was 90, or was it 91? 92?
It was actually 1993. Was when they did the experiment of doing 2 bye weeks. Now they had some bye weeks in the AFL before the merger because they had not a number of teams, but that's when they started to do bye weeks. So of course, normally I've been doing players have played for both teams stuff. We're talking bye weeks. And I kind of did some numbers here. So the Pittsburgh Steelers have had 36 buys 36. How do I say it? I want to talk about games coming out of the bye week because that's what we're going to be looking at in the future. They've had 36 games where they've played coming out of the bye week, where they played a regular season game. How many games do you think the Steelers have won out of those 36?
29.
I was going to say 27.
Okay, well it's actually 24. They're 24-12 coming out of the bye. And here's what's crazy. Out of those 36 games, only 14 of them have been at home. So typically they come out of the bye and go on the road. It's just they've been scheduled that more. Out of what do you think their home record is? Out of 14 games, how many wins do you think they got?
13.
I'm going to go ahead and say 10.
Okay, it's in between. It's 11. They're 11-3 because the big question I want to ask is when was the last time the Steelers lost coming out of the bye week?
Not at home, just in general.
Just lost in general.
Okay. Well, they won last year against the Commanders.
Yep.
Let's go ahead and I'm sure I'm wrong here. Let's go ahead and say 2000. I'm going to actually say 2016.
And that's spot on. You're exactly right. They
Nice.
lost in 2016. Coming out of the bye week, they had to go to Baltimore, and they lost 21-14. That's their loss. That's their last loss. When's their last loss at home coming out of a bye week?
13.
You're very close. Jeff?
12.
Oh, you went the wrong way. It was 14. Yeah, 2014, they lost coming out of the bye. In week 13, they had a 35-32 loss to the New Orleans Saints at home. So that means the Steelers have won 8 straight games coming out of the bye. I've got two other quick questions. Any idea what team they faced the most coming out of the bye?
Cleveland.
I was going to say Cleveland as well.
Well, playing Cleveland this week will break the tie. They have previously played Cleveland 6 times coming out of the bye, and there's one other team that they've played 6 times coming out of the bye.
Baltimore.
Cincinnati.
It's actually Cincinnati. The only time they played Baltimore coming out of their bye week was that one time where they lost to them in 2016. They've played Cincinnati 6 times. There's only a couple other teams they've played twice. They've played Denver twice. They've played Indy twice, but they've played technically the San Diego Chargers 3 times. But that's what they've done. Any idea where the Steelers fall ranking-wise when it comes to their record after the bye week?
Well, they're playing in out of the bye week at a 750 clip, so
Yeah.
I would say they're in the top 5. Let's go and say number 4.
Okay. Well, it's not a 750 clip. It's their 24-12.
Oh,
That's at a 67% clip. That's a meatloaf. That's a 2 out of 3 ain't bad. But you are right. They are top 5. They're 5th. Any idea what NFL team has the best record coming out of their bye? The team you don't want to face coming out of their bye week.
Philadelphia.
Patriots.
Philadelphia, Jeff, they are tied for 2nd.
Oh.
They're tied. So that was a really good guess. Tied for 2nd with the Denver Broncos. The Patriots, they're only 20-16 coming out of the bye. But the team that's the best actually is 21-8, and that would be the Baltimore Ravens coming off their bye week.
Screw those guys.
So, and just so you know, overall teams are 52.8% winning percentage coming out of their bye. Because remember, it's not 50% because it doesn't mean both teams are coming out of their bye. But I was shocked. How many teams do you think don't have a winning record coming out of their bye? Historically.
I'm going to say 12.
That's what I was going to say. That was the number that came to mind.
Well, if you include 50%, it's 15. If you don't, then it's 14. There's a bunch of teams that just stink coming out of the bye. And the worst of them all, I love it, is the Cincinnati Bengals. They are 12-24-1 coming out of their bye week. So the Steelers have been pretty good. And as we've said, they've been, if you look at it, they've been very good under Coach Tomlin. That during that time, oh my goodness, what are they? I think I looked at it. They are, 15-4 coming out of their bye week, and they've won 8 in a row. So if you want something good to feel about during the bye week, it's that the Steelers generally have been doing very well coming out of it.
All right, really quick. Let's do some final thoughts here, Brian. Go ahead.
All right, let's look at the defense here real quick. We've talked about how everybody thinks that this is a bad defense, but I'm looking at 3 games here. The Vikings in week 3 put up 48 points on their opponent, then 21 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Patriots put up 33 the week before, then played the Steelers and put up only 14. And then, actually, the Patriots had like 42 the week after. And then you have the Seattle Seahawks that had 31 points against the Steelers. It was a bad effort for the Steelers. But right after that, they scored 44 the very next week. So the Steelers might not be what you think is a great defense, but they're actually holding some teams right now a little bit better than other teams are holding their opponents. So I really like where the arrow is pointing with the Steelers. So I am excited and I'm giddy, and I can't wait for this bye week to be over. And as far as I'm concerned, as soon as Monday rolls around, bye week's over because they're planning. So we only have a couple more days of this malaise, what's called the bye.
All right, Dave, final thoughts.
Yeah, to me, the bye week is over on Tuesday when Mike Tomlin steps to the podium and says good afternoon. That's when it officially knows you're starting the preparation. Even though the Steelers will be on the field for a practice on Monday, there won't be an injury report or anything like that because it doesn't officially start their week. It's really great that the Steelers are 3-1. And I know there's still a number of people out there that are like, oh my goodness, if they'd have played the Bills, if they'd have played the Lions, heck, some people were even saying if they'd have played the Ravens and how they are. But you know what? That's not who the Steelers played in those games. All they can do is beat the team that they're scheduled to play. And the important thing now for the Steelers is the next thing they have to do is they have to beat the Cleveland Browns at home in week 6. That's what it's all about. Then they have a short week in a real bad spot, but also going up against a team that's not doing too well in the Cincinnati Bengals that they have on a short week following that. So you can talk about all you want to about, would they be able to beat the Chiefs? Would they be able to beat the Bills? They're not playing those teams right now. So all they can do is continue to beat the teams that are in front of them and then see how everything goes from week to week. It's nice during the bye week to look ahead and really see the rest of the season, but really, when it comes to the Pittsburgh Steelers, they need to come back and be singularly focused on just winning that next one.
Well said, gentlemen. Thank you for your time. Make sure you guys check out steelcurtainnetwork.com. It's completely free. We're putting up some great content there. Very proud of that website, steelcurtainnetwork.com. Also, make sure you check out all of our podcasts, even those that are not on the YouTube channel, like Dave's Pittsburgh Standard Time, which ran Thursday morning. Brian's Here We Go show with Coach Kevin Smith, as well as his Bad Language podcast, my Let's Ride podcast every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and all the other stuff. Go check it out wherever you get your podcast, Steel Curtain Network. But that does it for another Steelers preview. Next week, we'll be back to preview Week 6. Dave, why don't you send us out?
Hey.
We will see you all next week.
Steel Curtain Network. Get it.
Everybody else gets a little tight.